How to color grade video like a pro. If you look at these examples, you'll see a massive improvement from the before to the after. I'm using the same LUT on both clips, yet in every example the after looks much better. Here's the deal. You can use the same camera, shoot with the same settings, using the exact same LUTs as me, and still get crappy colors. So what exactly is the difference? Believe it or not, but white balance is the #1 reason you're not getting the colors you desire. Just for a moment, forget everything you think you know about white balance. Forget about the color dropper or the temperature and tint sliders. I don't even touch those. The biggest challenge is not always fixing incorrect white balance, but actually identifying it. Now with this video, I'm not saying that you should white balance every single clip. I often use unbalanced images as creative choice, but if your goal is to get that clean, commercial, cinematic look, you're at the right place. Having a calibrated monitor helps, but really the best way to spot an incorrect white balance is to use the built-in scopes in your editor. If you're not using scopes yet, I really hope you will start after this because it changed everything for me. I'm using examples in DaVinci Resolve, but the language is the same in Premiere Pro and Final Cut. Starting with this grade I did for Bass Buzz. When you compare the before and the after, you'll see an improvement in the skin tone with cleaner blacks and whites. I use various tools to white balance depending on the scene, but in this case the waveform is perfect. The waveform is not just there to check your exposure, but it's a great way to white balance when you have true white and true black. The white guitar will show up in the highlights indicated at the top and a black shirt in the shadows at the bottom. With the RGB channels turned on, you can immediately see the imbalance in your whites and blacks. Starting with the highlights, you'll see there's a lack of blue and a little bit too much red. When you drag the individual sliders, your goal is to pop it into place to appear white. You can do the same in the shadows, and here we've got too much green and a lack of red. You can probably do this a little faster using the wheel, but I find that the sliders give me finer control. In most cases, when your highlights and shadows are balanced, the midtones should be close to perfect. This is where your skin tones lie, so you can check it using the qualifier and the vector scope. I'll dive deeper into the vector scope further on, but for now, the most important aspect is to understand this line over here, often referred to as the flesh line. This is the only way to confirm if your skin tones are balanced correctly. And because skin tones mostly lie in the midtones, you always make the biggest changes adjusting it here. You can also use RGB Parade, and the goal here is to line up your channels where possible. I don't use it nearly as much as the waveform, but it's the best way to show you why I don't actually use the temperature and tint sliders. Adjusting temperature and tint have a global effect on your color channels, which means if you add green, you're removing red, but using the individual sliders will give you finer control, allowing you to only add green without taking red away, making it easier to fix white balance in a specific area in your image. Enough of the studio stuff. Let's look at an example out in the field. Here I'm not going to grade it from scratch, but I do want to show you the before and after to see how the colors on the waveform pops into place. Again, our focus is on the black shorts in the shadows and the white snow clearly indicated on the waveform. With this example, I also want to show you why I never use the color picker to white balance. In most cases, it just won't give you the right result because it doesn't understand the context of your frame and it only tweaks the temperature and tint sliders. Now this is where we start using the vector scope more extensively. But first, why does the before image look so green? It's simple. Since we're surrounded by all this foliage, the light is actually bouncing off and reflecting green everywhere, and white balancing for this in camera in the field can be time consuming or impractical, depending on the nature of your shoot. For controlled shoots, using a color checker simplifies the process, but becomes impractical for on-the-go shoots. Another way to nail the white balance is to focus purely on the skin. Using the HSL qualifier, I'm isolating the skin tone and putting a mask around the area I want to balance best. In this case, the face. When you move the wheel, you can quickly find a desired spot on the flesh line. But in this case, I'm also dragging it up a bit, adding more color to the skin. When you disable the qualifier and the mask, there's a huge improvement from before to after. But looking at the waveform, you'll see that the balance is still a slight bit off in the blacks. This is where I want to challenge you to be creative. To me, skin tone will always be the most important aspect of the image, and it's perfectly fine to go for cooler blacks and warmer highs, or vice versa. But your goal should be to retain natural looking skin. So don't get caught up in trying to balance everything perfectly. In the after, you can see I also isolated the green and dropped the saturation, which in my opinion makes the grade look more cinematic. Sometimes balancing just for the skin won't give you the desired result, and in this case it's better to simply isolate the skin with the HSL qualifier and to make individual adjustments to make it blend into the frame like I did here. But what if you don't have any blacks? You can't see the skin tones and your white is irrelevant to the scene. Here our subject is actually wearing a navy shirt and backpack, and trying to balance for the blacks or for the sky as white will just throw off the color completely. Again, the vector scope comes to the rescue. When the midtones are selected, you can immediately see that it's off, leaning to the green side, and an easy fix is to drag the wheel to the center. This method works so well that we can actually use it without looking at the image. In this example, when you look at the before and after, you can see how radical the change is, and it's all indicated by the vector scope. If I disable the previous changes and I create a new node, I can drag the scopes over the image. Centering around the midtones will almost instantly fix the image, and I can check myself by isolating the skin tones, and it's right on the money without even looking at the image. And that's why I love scopes, because it not only helps you to fix the white balance, but also to identify it when it's off. If you enjoyed this tutorial, please be so kind to leave a like, and if you have any more questions, drop it in the comments below and I'll do my best to answer. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.